It's time for the Josh Kirby on Sports Podcast.
On this edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast, we break down Week 2 action in the National Football League for you, including the Washington football team and the New York Giants, the Titans and the Seahawks, the Cowboys and the Chargers, and the Ravens and Chiefs, plus my interview with more on the Ravens and Chiefs with Gabby DiPaula, plus the hurry-up offense and the last word. All coming your way next. You're listening to the Kirby on Sports Podcast.
Glad you connected. This is Dave Johnson, voice of the Washington Wizards. You have connected to the right place because you are listening to my man, Josh Kirby on Sports Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you are tuned in to another edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast. For our sponsors, Regroup Building Services, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, and Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate. Big thanks to Productions by Quet and Dave Johnson as well. And I tell you what, before we bring in the rest of the show, what an amount of close games we've witnessed last week. It was a fun-filled football week, and we have a lot of games to cover for you. And stay tuned for the hurry up offense as well, where we hurry up through the rest of the teams we do not have time to cover in full. So stay tuned for that. Plus, we'll give you more analysis of the Ravens game with a person who covers the Ravens, Gabby DiPaula. So look out for that interview sometime in the show as well. But for the time being, I have the three-man booth with me, my co-host and lead contributor, Dan Dembski. Find him on Twitter at Dan_Dembski97, and the Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martin.
Got a pocket knife with him.
Goddamn right. He pulled it out.
Let's go.
He pulled it out.
Let's go,
it out.
man.
I couldn't finish that with a straight face when he pulled it out. Gentlemen, how are we?
Well, first, that's what she said. Secondly, I'm doing well, man. I'm extremely tired, but I'm happy to be here. It was a good week. What can I say? It was a good weekend of football.
Boys. We're all winners here. We all won close games.
3-0.
You call Washington a winner, then there's something wrong because New York had
they
four
won.
opportunities.
Kirby, a win is
It was ugly, but a win's a win, dude.
A win is a win in the NFL. This isn't college where a win can be a rinky-dink win. This is an actual win, okay? Jesus.
Well, I'm glad you aren't bashing them because I sure am. So,
Well, someone's got to do it.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get into it. We'll start our Week 2 breakdown here on the Kirby on Sports Podcast with the Thursday night. Should we call it thriller? Should we call it? I don't know. But that game was, however many different ways you put it, very interesting to watch. Yeah, my heart rate was here because the Giants kept running away with it in turn, and Washington kept inching closer and closer. Then once they took the lead, I mean, my blood pressure was just there, and I was like, there's no way we're winning this. Daniel Jones is undefeated against the Washington football team, and then you have more mistakes. The Giants get too conservative, however you put it, and then your guy jumps off sides.
Mm-hmm.
So that guy, I forget his name off the top of my head, saved Dustin Hopkins' job right there. Because if he missed that and there was no penalty, people would be calling for Dustin Hopkins' head on a silver platter because he did not kick well in the preseason. And he comes out, He does decent. He misses a 51, 52 yarder in the third or fourth, I believe. But other than that, he kicked decent, but still, you have to make that game winner, move them 5 yards up. And he kicked it. It looked like it might have missed again, but flexed right back in. And Washington beats New York by a point. But I mean, the amount of defensive mistakes Washington had, the amount of times New York could have won this game, put the nail in the coffin, and sealed the deal, and Washington would be 0-2. That's why this was not a good football game. This was a football game between two teams who are undisciplined. And you saw it with the penalties by both teams, and you saw it by the lack of defense. Yeah, I mean, the Giants played defense. I'll give them credit. They played some very good defense. But when it came to Washington, I mean, you're throwing the ball all over the place. I'll say this. The Giants defense played a tad bit better than Washington's defense. So that's all I have on this one. The Washington football team squeaked away because of an undisciplined player jumping off sides. If he stays on sides, the Washington football team loses that game. But in turn, that before that, the game could have been well won before that as well. So, I mean, it was just a very, it was a fun game to watch. I mean, it was entertaining because these two teams were just fought it out, and it was a division game. So it's going to be interesting to see how both teams adjust per se going into next week, because I do know that this Washington football team is traveling to Buffalo, and that's not going to be an easy task.
Well, I'll say this, and I don't have a whole lot to say about this game, but it's an NFC East game. I mean, we got what we kind of thought would happen, which is a close game with, some errors, obviously, like you mentioned, Kirby. I mean, you went into it better than most people would, because you like bashing your own team. It's crazy because
he's been doing that a lot this season. It's
like
weird.
2 years ago, this guy, he was Mr. Bright, smiley, Washington this, Washington that.
If I give myself,
I think we broke him.
I think we broke him.
If I give myself a little bit of confidence as a Washington football team fan that this team might have a chance to make it to the Super Bowl, my soul is crushed.
Nobody's asking.
I go out.
You don't have to have confidence for your team to make the Super Bowl. You don't need that confidence to be like, oh, they have to make the Super Bowl. I don't have confidence in my team making the Super Bowl, but I'm still very positive about where my team is going.
Right.
That's the thing. It's not Super Bowl or bust for Washington this year.
I know that, but still, I'm not confident.
So why are you taking it to the extreme of, I need confidence that this team is going to make the Super Bowl? How about just confidence that maybe they'll compete for the division? Maybe they'll compete for a playoff win.
Even if I think about that, it crushes my soul, because it's just me. If I think that there's a chance and I give them a little bit of hope, when it doesn't happen, it just I'm a realist, and this Washington football team has a lot of work to do.
No, I know
every team.
Yeah, I mean,
Dan's Ravens have a lot of work to do. My Cowboys have a lot of work to do. It's not like any of our teams here.
The Chiefs have a lot of
dominated.
Work to do. Raiders have a lot of work to do. Every team does.
You just have this weird doomsday feel to you this season. It's really weird. We're only in week 2, Kirby. Football is going to be sloppy right now.
And we have another game this year. There's 17 games. So, I mean, it might come down to the end for this division like it did last year, but hey, I think Washington could be in it.
But
well, I think Dallas will cool down, Carlos. I hate to tell you.
I don't. We're not even hot yet, to be honest. Wait until we get to the Cowboys.
All right.
I'll give my analysis of that.
Carlos, do you have if you have anything else, Dan, or if not, Carlos, what else do you have to add? Because I'm sure you probably watched some of this, if not all of it too.
I would say, again, just is my final thought, and I've been saying this for Washington for a while. They still can't run the football, and that's a concern. Especially when you have a young quarterback like Taylor Heineke, who is still, I still think is really getting acclimated to this offense and how it all works. even though he, of course, played in the playoff game last year. And this is his second start now? No, this was his first official start, right?
No.
He started in the wild card.
Well, this season, yeah.
Yeah, this is his first official start, yeah.
So, he's still trying to pick up the pieces a little bit and try to understand this offense. I think he's done a pretty decent job for what he's been tasked to do, to be honest. But again, like Gibson and McKissick, like I just don't see it in them, man. I just don't. If they're gonna have a shot to win this division, which I think is gonna be tough, like I said, I do think Dallas will cool down at some point. They're not gonna dominate every team, obviously, but they've played well to start the season. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But if Washington's gonna have a chance in this division, they're gonna have to have a lot of balance, and it starts with running the football. They don't really have any balance right now. It seems to be all Heineke trying to do everything for their offense. And he was able to do it against the Giants. But let's face it. That Giants defense is atrocious. They're going to go against much harder defenses this season. You think with a young quarterback, they would really be more keen and focused on running first and getting Gibson and McKissick more involved. And it's just not happening right now. So I think that for their offense, that's my main takeaway. I am a little concerned with the defense too. The Giants do have some weapons. Sterling Shepard's pretty solid. Let's be honest there. And Daniel Jones can surprise you at times. He's not, he's not a top
Daniel Jones whatsoever. I think Daniel Jones is not a good quarterback at all. How do you drop this game? How do you drop this game? You were well in the lead.
There was a drop touchdown pass too. You got
that was the nail in the coffin, in my opinion. That drop touchdown pass.
If he catches that, they win the game, and people have a different opinion of it. Daniel Jones played well. Just looking at the stat sheet, but he really played decently against that Washington secondary, which again I think is a big concern moving forward. Your all secondary is a mess. And that's something you've got to work on.
Yep.
But this was a sloppy game. But this is what we expect when we see the NFC East teams square off against each other. We're going to see this all season. And I think even Dallas too, I think their games are going to be close too. And I think they're going to have a little more success than, the Giants and the Eagles within your all's division.
We'll have more success than all three of these teams because we can at least we can, the way this we'll get to Dallas. I don't really want to get into Dallas right now. I want to focus on Washington.
Yeah, I'll just finish with saying that Washington has some decent pieces on offense. I really like Terry McLaurin. I really love
Terry McLaurin. He's a great wide receiver.
I really like Logan Thomas. He's solid too. The key again is just getting the run game involved and going in a positive direction. And also they seem that they abandon the run as well. And I know the game's close and it's a shootout and you want to, you have to pass in a shootout and things like that. But I just don't like the complete abandonment of the run game. The defense is concerning. Like I said, I think, the Giants don't have a great offense really at all. They have a couple pieces here and there. And you guys let Daniel Jones rush for almost 100 yards. Come on. Where's that great defense? Where's that great, pass rush?
Okay.
Pass rush.
I want to touch.
Can I say one more?
Hold on. Let me touch on that great defense thing that I feel like we kind of blew last season, to be completely honest. When you look at when Washington went on that run to kind of secure the NFC East or the NFC least. Who did they beat? They beat Cincinnati, where Joe Burrow goes out. They beat Dallas, who was already missing. They beat Dallas twice without Dak Prescott. Pittsburgh, at that point, Big Ben was already worn out. San Francisco, you were playing their backup. You lose to Seattle and Carolina, which was, obviously, you guys played decent against Seattle, but at that point, Russell Wilson was kind of starting to fall off a little bit. Carolina, you made it close at the end, but the game really wasn't that close.
And do you know
with
why?
Teddy Bridgewater, and then with Philly, they
were messed.
They ended up pulling Jalen Hurts at the end because they wanted to, tank that game basically. And then on top of that, you guys didn't win really unless Alex Smith was playing. So this whole talk of like this Washington defense being this like great defense. I mean, they have a great front four. You know, Chase Young.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. I wasn't talking about the whole like secondary
like Chase
linebackers.
Young is great. He's gonna be a menace for this team. He's like he's the starting building block. Montez Sweat is great.
Yep.
You know, but like aside from them two, really, I mean, this defense is not really that much.
I agree with that. I kind of misworded that. When I said that, I was like, "Oh, Carlos is going to get on me," and as he should, because I just called them a great defense and didn't really use any context. But yeah, that's a great point. The secondary is awful. I mean, that is a huge concern when you not only do you give up, 230 passing yards to Daniel Jones, or 240 rather, almost 250. You also let him rush for 100 yards, and that kind of falls on your whole defense. But on the secondary as well. I mean, those guys have to be there in position to make the tackle too. So, it's a concern, and I don't know how I feel about this team right now. I do think Heineke is the answer for now until the end of this season. I don't know long term what they're going to do. You never know with this football team what they're going to do. You never know what Daniel Snyder what decision he's going to make next that completely screws them up. But
I swear the media says so much stuff about what Washington may or may not do next. They're even talking about RG3, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
I saw that. I saw that today.
Come on.
Well, it's because RG3 made a comment that if
make the call.
He's trying to make a comeback supposedly in the NFL, and he said he would love to play for Washington, which the fans don't want him. I mean, I don't think the fans would want him. I mean, people all of a sudden are in the comments section of those articles like, we don't want RG weak knees or whatever, and it's like, you all loved him when he was there. Like, you loved him when he was there, and like he did everything he could do for your football team. It was the coach who decided to put him in when he was hurt, when he wasn't well, and it completely screwed him up for the rest of his career. And that's why he was, that's why he became what he became. I don't know. That's a whole other subject we can get into. Let's talk about this current iteration of the football.
RG3 is not what they need anyways. But like, to your point, Dan, about like Washington abandoning the run. I mean, it's because their running game is not good. They don't have a good running back at all. We talk again, and we keep bringing it up. That was our main criticism last season. Last season, we were saying the same thing. Hey, if this team can get a running game, then they have a shot, because they do have weapons on the offense that they can throw to with McLaurin and Logan Thomas. But, and Taylor Heineke, like he's a serviceable quarterback. He's not going to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but he's going to at least keep you in games. He's not going to. Yeah. He's not gonna, he's not a terrible quarterback like an Andy Dalton or something like that at this point, So I don't know. Like, to me, like, I feel like at least with these NFC East games are never going to be the prettiest. This is going to be sloppy football. I like to attribute it a lot to like, or compare it a lot to like, say like, like how we have like World Cup qualifiers going on right now. Well, not right now. Right now they're on break. But like, like whenever teams come from like, or like players that come from Europe come back to the U.S. to go play like these South America or Central American countries, it's not pretty. It's not pretty soccer when they play it, when they play down there. So like, that's what I kind of compare it to with the NFC East. Like, it's not going to be pretty football, it's going to be sloppy. It's going to be undisciplined at times. But the key thing is one, the Giants swept you guys last season.
Yeah. This
season, win. At least you got one back. You guys are 1-1. It's a 3-way tie right now for the top of the division. It's not like last season where you guys won your first game, I think, and then lost like the next 6.
Right.
You guys are still in this race. It's not like the NFC East. It's not like the Cowboys or the Eagles have won their last 2 games and have looked, like world ender style. Yeah, the Cowboys have, kept it close with these 2 good teams. So it shows that like this team is going to be able to compete. But the Eagles just they couldn't really they didn't play that well against the 49ers. The 49ers didn't play that well either. But, I'm not worried about the Giants or the 49 or the Eagles, to be honest. Washington is the only team that could pose a challenge to Dallas. They just got to get it together. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
And Heineke threw for 336 yards. So it's not like he pretty much put the offense on his shoulders. I mean, there's really nobody else to put the offense on their shoulders. They don't, like we mentioned, they don't have any decent running backs. And he threw the ball pretty well. He did have the one interception, but I mean, the bottom line is he's going to give you chances to win. It's a matter of, can your defense and secondary make enough plays, especially to keep you in football games. And if you can't run the football, then it's going to be very tough to win a whole lot of games, I think. I mean, Washington's is going to have a winning record. I don't doubt that, but
they'll at least be 9-8.
Yeah, like getting a wild card spot, even with an expanded wild card, I don't know. And
I don't know. That'll be tough with how great some of these other teams are in other divisions. I feel like the NFC East is only going to have one team represented. It's not going to be a two-team representation here. But I just want really quick on the Giants, though. I mean, Daniel Jones being your top rusher is a problem. How can he be your top rusher?
Come on.
Saquon does not look like himself. No. I think he's still not fully back from that injury. You typically don't come back until year 2 after you're an ACL tear. That's what they always say. Like, you don't really feel 100% back. So I feel like this season is not going to be Saquon's best. And I don't know. The Giants just are not that great of a team.
They're just not a good football team.
They're just not a great team.
Simply. Yeah.
I will leave it off with this. The last I heard, Taylor Heineke is still trying to work a deal out with Heineken. So it's still not in the motion yet, but if that were to happen.
Why was this relevant?
It's just a random thought, Come on, okay. Carlos.
Don't you have to win something to do that?
That's what I'm saying. He's only started a playoff game and this game.
This is
his first win.
Start with Washington.
This is his first win. That's not relevant. How about we put up a good season, make yourself the guy in Washington, then we can start thinking about endorsement deals.
Start him with a local pizza place, and then maybe he can work his way up. And maybe
Paisanos.
Get to Heineken.
That's where every Washington
or Litos or something
goes.
Oh yeah. So let's move on, ladies and gentlemen, to the next game on our slate. And just to mention, this first game, the Washington football team and the New York Giants, Washington kicked a game-winning field goal. The next game we are talking about, the Titans and the Seahawks, the Titans coming back in overtime, kicking a game-winning field goal to win. So what a close game this was. It went to overtime, and I must say that Seattle's defense really held them back. I feel like after the Legion of Boom, which seems like ages ago now, the Seattle Seahawks defense just does not look the same. And it went to show in this game, in my opinion, and the Titans were able to expose the Seahawks defense enough to force overtime and to force the game-winning field goal to win. And I mean, what can you say? I mean, Russell Wilson, almost 350 yards, 2 touchdowns. Still, people are going to be discussing, is Russell Wilson in the line for MVP or not? But the main concern for Seattle right now is focusing on their defense, because that defense got exposed, in my opinion. And I really feel like that's one of the main reasons why Tennessee won. I feel like Mike Vrabel went out I believe Mike Vrabel is a defensive minded head coach, and he could see, I feel like he was able to adapt and change his play calling to what the Seattle Seahawks were running, and they were able to win.
Well, they definitely had game, though. Yeah, they definitely had to change something up, because there was, it was going to be really tough if they lost this game and started the season out 0-2. But when you look at like the timeline of this game, I guess you could say, the fact that the Seattle Seahawks in the second half plus overtime only scored 6 points after scoring 24 in the first half is very worrisome, because that means the offense stalled. And, it doesn't really look like, Tyler Lockett had a great game. When you look at the stats, I mean, it looks like this is a game Seattle should have won. But the Titans, and then you look at the Titans, Ryan Tannehill didn't even throw a touchdown, but he still threw 347 yards. This was not a good defensive game at all, to be completely honest. It looks like in the first half, Tennessee's defense was the one that was like on the back foot. And then they basically, took Seattle's best shots, hung in there, and then they started swinging, in the second half, and Tennessee ultimately ended up squeaking it out. Derrick Henry coming to life, 35 carries though for 182 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, I think there's more chatter about maybe if Derrick Henry can keep this type of production up, he's definitely going to be in conversations for the MVP. Right now, especially with this performance, for not being able to really score much in the second half, Russell Wilson's not even a discussion for MVP, and it's too early to talk about MVP anyways.
I agree.
Yeah, and to your point, Kirby, about this defense holding this team back, yeah, it's true. Ever since the Legion of Boom pretty much disbanded and went their separate ways, obviously Dan Quinn going to Atlanta and now being at Dallas, and he was pretty much, the guy who really fostered the Legion of Boom. Yeah, that used to be their bread and butter was the defense. Now it looks like they're they look like a shell of themselves. They don't look like, they're not feared the way they used to be feared. And the fact that they also lost at home with that great home field advantage, that's an issue, especially considering you didn't score a single I don't think they scored a single touchdown in the second half. They only scored 6 points. So Seattle's got a lot, of introspection, I guess is the word, to do. They need to figure out like what their identity is, because I don't think they even know what their identity is.
Yeah, and they're going to be in a lot of these high-scoring games until their defense steps up, because
their running game. The running game is atrocious right now.
Yeah,
it's
only
as bad as Washington's.
Carson only had 31 yards rushing, which is just abysmal. Now Russell Wilson picked up the slack.
Yeah, especially in a game like that where you are leading, you need a running game to run out that clock. You can't be passing the ball as much as they did. But continue, Dan. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Oh no, you're all good, man. Yeah, I was just gonna say that essentially they're gonna be in a lot of high scoring games because they don't have a defense, and Russell Wilson's gonna have to come out and throw for 300, 350 yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns at least to give Seattle a chance to win a game. Now, Tennessee's offense is fantastic. They have weapons galore.
They came to life.
And Julio Jones, what a great addition he was. 6 catches, 128 yards, didn't have a touchdown, but he was a madman. He was all over the field. It seemed like every time I looked up, he was catching another pass and making a big play, especially there in the second half when they went on that run. But Carlos, you're exactly right. 6 points for Seattle in the fourth quarter. And none in overtime and none in the third quarter at all. That's concerning for a team that is used to scoring and scoring often, especially when they hold a 30-16 lead in the fourth quarter and they can't
finish.
They can't finish. And a lot of that has to do with, again, like you said, their running game isn't getting it going. The clock was stopped. It gives Tennessee a chance to fight back and get back in the game. It really all came together for Tennessee, and Derrick Henry he's just amazing. The guy they literally give him the ball and they say, try to stop him. Try to slow him down. You can't. And teams that beat Tennessee, that's exactly what they do. They're able to slow down Derrick Henry, get the Titans to fall behind, and then Ryan Tannehill has to make plays with his arm. Ryan Tannehill is not a bad quarterback. He's not as great as people think. I think because of all the weapons he has. never in his wildest imagination did he think he'd be playing on a team that would have this many weapons, and they 4 or 5 years ago, especially. So, Tennessee is going to be fine. This was a huge win for them. And yeah, I agree. If you start 0-2, things are just not looking good for the playoffs. Now that takes into account, of course, a 16-game season. So we'll see. We don't have any data on 17 game seasons.
Yeah.
But Derrick Henry had a 60-yard rushing touchdown. I mean, how do you?
And we
your
all watched
defense
that live.
is bad, but like you just cower in fear when a guy like that is running towards you. You have to. There's no other way around it. So this was just a really fun game, a really, really great offensive performance for both teams. Well, for most of the game, Tennessee 532 total yards of offense. That's just mind-boggling, and 212 on the ground, which is just in this day and age is hard to find. Any team run for more than 150 yards in a game. It's a great game. I don't think it's the end all be all for Seattle either. It's early. It was their first home game back, so I really wanted to see them score more in the second half. 6 points doesn't cut it, and I'm sure they're going to spend a lot of time talking about that this week and trying to change up the game plan, and maybe they can finally get Chris Carson going, because he's not the back that that he was just a season or two ago. I think, and teams get off to slow starts. It happens. Maybe Seattle is just in one of those sort of areas as far as this past game, but it's early. I think they'll be fine. But this was an important win for Tennessee. They kind of flexed their muscles a little bit as to how they could come back. I mean, they've been known to come back before. It's nothing new for them. So Derrick Henry's just
an animal.
He's an animal. He is a force to be reckoned with. And when that force runs at you, no chance in hell you're going to be able to stop him, 8 times out of 10, I think.
Yeah. Another thing that hurts Seattle, though, is their penalties. I mean, they had 10 penalties for 100 yards. You're not going to win a lot of games when that happens.
Absolutely.
So undisciplined football is the biggest way to lose a game, no matter who the opponent is. And
that's kind of the theme here.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll say this: if the Titans didn't pick up the pace in the second half and they didn't end up coming back to win, this segment would be completely different, because it would have been shocking to see the Titans fall 0-2, because last year they seemed like a pretty strong team, but still, the Titans
defense wasn't very tight last season. It was kind of bad, I think what you're trying to say here is they wouldn't have been one of the highlighted games. They would have been in the hurry up offense segment.
Probably. Yeah.
That's probably true. I mean,
yeah.
But we saw a great comeback from the Titans. They
what
are
a great game this was.
Yeah.
It was a good game, and like I said, I mean, you can see we watched it together on the Facebook Live. So,
oh yeah,
that's the thing. Like,
did that? No, I'm just kidding.
For majority of these games, you can see our reaction, especially for the next game. The Cowboys Chargers. You can see my reactions during the end of the game, which were a roller coaster of emotions. But
I know what you mean with that phrase, my man. Trust me.
Well, wait until we get to talk about the Chiefs and Ravens.
Oh, yeah. Hey,
that's going to be a good time.
Hey, we're just getting started here on the Kirby on Sports podcast. We'll take a quick break and talk about the Cowboys and Chargers on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you about Regroup Building Services. If you're looking to get your home remodeled, any part of your home, bathroom, kitchen, want to get a deck built, anything like that, Regroup Building Services can just about do everything. And take it from me, because they came in and they remodeled my family's kitchen, and they do a great job. So if you're looking for any sort of home remodeling needs, deck work done, anything of that nature, reach out to my guy Sean Hibbard over at Regroup Building Services today. You can check them out on their website, www.regroupbuildingservices.com, where they do the honeydews that your honey don't. Make sure you tell them Josh sent you. For sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals, when you need a reserve study, PM Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com. All right, welcome back to the Kirby on Sports podcast. I'm here with the three-man booth and Dan Dembski and the Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez. Let's get into the next game of conversation, why don't we, folks? This game, I touched on the last two games. Washington beat New York with a game-winning field goal. The Titans and Seahawks, the Titans beat Seattle with a game-winning field goal. And in this game, the Cowboys beat the Chargers in Los Angeles with a game-winning field goal. 20
Suck it, Dante.
Carlos, over to you. No.
Oh, am I starting this off?
I mean, so many, in general, so many close games this week.
Mhm.
Yeah, this was
So
a good week
many.
of football.
This is what makes football great, all the close games and everything.
I don't think we're gonna get that this week, unfortunately, because like I was
The
telling you guys
matchups are
off air,
bad.
it looks like there's a
Yeah.
lot of bad matchups this
They're
week.
bad.
All right, Carlos, we'll give you the floor.
All right. Well, I mean, what's to say? I mean, it was a good win for the Cowboys. It's good to get our first win because I was a little nervous going into this game because of, Justin Herbert. He's really good. Like, he is really, really good. And this Chargers team is really good. It's not like, it's not. This Chargers team is not that same team last year where, they kind of like are in the game, but then they somehow screw it up at the end. Like they had a legitimate shot at winning this game and they were in it. There's a lot of positives that came out of this, this game for the Cowboys. Our defense is, I was getting a little frustrated with how easy it seemed like Justin Herbert was moving the ball, but in the red zone, that's where it really counted. We stopped them a lot in the red zone. So it seems like this defense is a lot of bend, don't break. So they'll get to the red zone, but then in the red zone, that's when we're going to stop you. There's a couple players I want to highlight. Obviously, Greg Zuerlein, we got to, redeeming himself from, obviously, we had a chance to beat Tampa Bay, and had he hit the extra point and that field goal that he missed in that game, we would have won that. And he definitely redeemed himself in this game by kicking a 56-yard winning field goal with terrible time management that I'll get into in a little bit. Another player I want to highlight is what's his name? Jalen Smith. He had it was a little worrisome when they put Micah Parsons at defensive end, and he played pretty well at defensive end. He had kind of had a rinky-dink sack. It wasn't necessarily a real sack. They counted it as a sack, but I mean, it kicked. It pushed LA back. I think he played pretty well compared to last season, where like he was just like getting blown, like completely left in the dust by players. I mean, he played pretty good in the open field today or on Sunday. And then, also, our line played pretty well. Like Joey Bosa was not a problem. He didn't get obviously he didn't get a sack. He didn't get even a QB hit at all on Dak Prescott. Not necessarily Dak Prescott's best game, in my opinion. He obviously went 23 for 27 for 237 yards. Statistically, he played well, but he didn't throw a touchdown. He threw that interception to Asante Samuel Jr., which still is
It's mind-boggling.
mind-blowing that
How old
we have
are.
Asante Samuel's son, who when you go back and you watch Asante Samuel's highlights, I mean, that dude was a beast. Yeah, not necessarily Dak Prescott's best game, but I mean, come on, it's only week 2. I'm not expecting him to play. I mean, he played very well against Tampa Bay. He played decent here. Not a bad performance, but not a great performance. It was a decent performance. I think so. Now we come to the running backs with Tony Pollard and Zeke. I think when it comes down to it, Zeke is still the better overall player, but Tony Pollard is a better playmaker, if you get what I'm saying. He's good at, Zeke is good at making 2-yard rushes become 5-yard rushes. But Tony Pollard, like when he comes in, there's just something, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but I still think this team is better off with Zeke as the starter because he does, he's great at, in the helping with the passing game and all that. But I feel like we're pretty much good with either one. They both scored. Zeke had a decent, 71-yard game. Tony Pollard obviously had 109. No touchdown passes, which is a little weird considering, all the weapons we have. Did we ever get is there an update on Amari Cooper that we know of? Because I know he got hurt at the end of the game, but as far as I'm concerned, I haven't heard anything. So I think he might be fine.
No, I haven't heard anything.
He has bruised ribs.
Amari Cooper does?
Yeah. He's hopeful he will recover before week 3. Jerry Jones is the he in this situation.
Well, that might be a little concerning, bruised ribs, but
yeah, it's one of those things where he could probably come back, but it might be better for him to just make sure he's completely healthy before he comes back, sort of situation.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I mean, CeeDee Lamb is a monster. I mean, he had 8 receptions for 81 yards. Not necessarily like big numbers, but they were huge when it counted. And then Trayvon Diggs getting that interception on Justin Herbert was huge. Yeah. And that was like that was a legit interception. That wasn't like, it wasn't a rinky dink one that we got against Tampa Bay where one was tipped and then one was just a Hail Mary punt basically. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm loving what I'm seeing from this team. Like there's a heart to this team that we did not have last season. This is the game where Dallas would have crumbled last season with Mike Nolan's defense. I think Dan Quinn has really, and I said it during, when we did our like preseason, breakdowns and all that on like this team. I think Dan Quinn is going to really whip this defense into shape. Now, of course, there's still issues. We're still letting on a lot of yards, but we're bending, but we're not breaking. And yeah, I mean, I loved what I saw from the Cowboys. I loved the fight. I love that we didn't let LA, really take control, because there was multiple opportunities. They could have just taken control of the game, and we held. And yeah, I mean, I'm loving what I'm seeing from this Cowboys team.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching Pollard play. I mean, for all the talk about how Zeke is not the same, Dallas doesn't have a running game. Pollard was a nice relief to that sort of statement, because it shows that they can have 2 running backs. And look, Zeke didn't play great in this game. I think he's still, not the same. He's still kind of working things through.
Yeah.
But Pollard just has that explosive speed that I think that Dallas had been lacking for the last couple of years. And I think he's going to make a big difference and really help them win this division. I was also impressed with Dallas's defense going up against Justin Herbert. I thought they did a really good job. Really just keeping them off the scoreboard. That's the big thing in my opinion. And only limiting them to less than 100 rushing yards. That's huge. And they don't have the best running backs. I mean, Eckler is,
he's all right.
He's all right, but they were really able to limit that. So they forced Herbert to throw it more. And Dallas has a really consistent defense, I think. And
So far this season, we've had a consistent defense.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers are no slouch on offense. I mean, they're
pretty
not
loaded.
Yeah, yeah. And I think part of the reason why the Chargers still struggle a little bit on offense is because they're still trying to. I mean, Justin Herbert's only in his beginning of his second season, so it's gonna take some time still, even though he had a great rookie season.
He played very well, though. It's not like he played bad. He played well. It's just they couldn't get into the end zone, and I think that was the detriment to the Chargers in this game, is that they literally, I think it looks like they only scored one touchdown. They scored field goals in the first, third, and fourth quarter.
Yeah, they had that touchdown 2-point conversion, I guess, in the
second quarter.
Or was it? Yeah, it wasn't a safety. No, it was a 2-point.
No, it was a 2-point.
I was trying to remember. I was like,
yeah.
So it's been some of these games. It's like, oh shit, what actually happened? But no, Dallas played really well on both sides of the ball, and Dak only missed four passes. So it's I know he didn't have a touchdown and he threw a pick, but there's not much else you can ask for. The only thing you could ask for him to do more is throw a touchdown pass next time. Okay, that's fine.
That's why I said it wasn't a bad performance, but it wasn't a great performance either. It was kind of it was a serviceable, but we won. That's all that matters.
But the fact that you're able to run the ball effectively meant that it didn't really matter, and that also helped run the clock down late in the game too. Dallas did a great job running the football.
Almost screwed that up.
Run the clock down a little too much there.
We almost screwed that up. I don't know. Yeah. Mike McCarthy said that the reason, what happened was, he said this in the post game, in his post game press conference. He said that the reason why that happened was because they wanted to call a timeout, but the clock he was looking up at that Halo scoreboard thing that they have there, the clock apparently went disappeared, and he didn't know the time. I'm just well, if that's the case, then just call the goddamn timeout.
Yeah,
you want to call the timeout and get a little closer, make it a little easier for Zerline.
Right.
Ultimately it worked in his favor, but Mike McCarthy has a history. He has that history of bad clock management. It happened while he was in Green Bay, so I'm obviously coming off of Jason Garrett, who also himself had bad clock management. Luckily, they got the timeout in with 4 seconds left, but we had enough time to call 2 timeouts to at least run 2 more running plays, get the ball just a little bit closer, and make it easier for Zerline. That was just bad clock management, and that's a little worrisome.
And that's also that. I also think their stadium is going to be a tough stadium to play in. Talking about the Chargers.
There's not a lot of, but that's the thing. According to people that were at the stadium, it was 80-20 Cowboys fans. The Cowboys have a huge fan base in California because, of course, they have their training camp there. Right. And the Chargers don't have a fan base in LA because they're the second team.
They should be in San Diego. Yeah,
they should have stayed in San Diego. They're not the Rams, where the Rams are starting to catch on. So it's I don't think that stadium is really going to be much of a factor for a lot of away teams playing against the Chargers.
At least now. If the Chargers have success and they're able to put together some playoff wins or something, maybe it'll be similar to what the Rams had, where the Rams are in the Super Bowl and stuff like that, and they have more of a following. That definitely helps you gain fans for sure. But yeah, I think we've covered everything with this game. At least I think I've covered everything I have to say about this game. I thought Dallas just they did just enough to win this game, and it was well executed. I really think. Other than that Mike McCarthy-esque, almost giving it away. But,
yeah.
Also, Jarwin had a pretty solid game too. And I hadn't heard that guy's name in a while. He had 3 catches, 37 yards, which is pretty solid, and he had that 20-yard reception. But I was surprised because outside of CeeDee Lamb, the Cowboys really didn't have any other receivers stand out. Of course, Amari Cooper got hurt. That's a big thing moving forward, which I think I saw he had a bruised rib, and they don't know if he's going to play. But Dallas is going to be a really tough football team, and I just think in general that Dallas is well rounded in pretty much every area. I think they play defense a heck of a lot better than they had last year.
Season.
even to this point. But again, they haven't had a lot of injuries yet, things like that. God forbid any of that stuff happens, but it does happen. It is the NFL. The season's extra long this time around, and we still have COVID to deal with. So
Yeah, well, we already saw with Dallas, like they're already dealing with stuff on defense. Obviously we have DeMarcus Lawrence out for 6 to 8 weeks because of a broken foot. Randy Gregory didn't play in this game. He should be back for the Eagles game, so maybe he'll be playing that DN position, and then Micah Parsons to play linebacker again, or maybe they're going to go Randy Gregory and Micah Parsons on both ends. Who knows?
Right.
I mean, Micah Parsons didn't play terrible at defensive end; he actually played very well. I don't know. I mean, I have a lot of optimism with this team because of the way we've played the last 2 weeks, but I want to see them put on a complete performance where, and maybe this is going to be the week because we're playing the Eagles,
right?
Where it's not a close, where it's not a close game, where we like win the game handily, where it's not coming down to, a last second field goal, or trying to stop a team with like a minute 24 left, like we had to try to do with Tampa Bay. I mean, like I said, the Cowboys, I mean, we kind of have an interesting schedule coming up. I mean, we got the Eagles, then we got the Panthers, who the Panthers are actually playing pretty well right now. We got the Giants, and then we kind of start getting into a little bit tougher matchups with the Patriots. We should probably beat the Vikings. The Broncos is going to be a tough matchup. We're going to have to play the Chiefs at some point. And yeah, I mean, but the way the schedule's laid out, I mean, Dallas can easily win 12 games this season.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And like I said, I think the fact that now that they've shown that they have another running back besides Zeke, because I think that was a concern for me and for a lot of other folks as well. Like Zeke isn't the same, and if they can't run the football, it's all going to be in Dak's hands, and that's not good in any situation. I don't care who the quarterback is, unless it's Tom Brady, and then it's fine because it's Tom Brady. But
Dak Dak showed against Tampa Bay that if the game is in his hands, we can at least compete. I'm not saying we're going to win, because obviously we didn't win against Tampa Bay, but, we didn't have a running game going in that game. Zeke is still a good running back, but he's not a great running back anymore. He's not 2016, 2018 Zeke anymore.
Yeah.
Like that Zeke is gone. We're not going to get that guy anymore, I don't think. We have to understand that. And, but now we have Tony Pollard, who can pick up the load also. So we don't need, again, we just need these two guys to, just produce results. That's all we need them to do. We don't need Zeke to get 200 yards a game or something. We don't need him to be Derrick Henry.
Right. Well, and I think it speaks also to just running backs in the NFL nowadays. I mean, they have really the window for running backs is like 2 to 3 years for them to be like at the top of their game. And then, they can be easily replaced, I think, in a lot of respects nowadays. It's not like it used to be where, running backs were staples on their teams for 7, 8, 9 seasons, however long it is. The game's a lot different now. And I think it's just a word of caution in like staying away from giving a running back a long-term contract extension of like 6 or 7 years, because like their window is very short. And I think Zeke is a great example of that, but there's other ones across the NFL, like, just a, sort of a watch out sort of deal. But
I mean, we can there's plenty of examples. DeMarco Murray, he had that great season with Dallas, goes to Philly, never produces, goes to Tennessee, never really replicates what he did in Dallas. A lot of that was also just because of our offensive line. He was going, 3 yards without being touched.
Right. That makes a difference, and now here he, DeMarco Murray. I haven't heard that name in a while.
I know.
Yeah, I think I just think overall Dallas will be fine. I think well-rounded is the way I would describe their team, and they can win in multiple ways. They have weapons too, as long as they can stay healthy. Amari Cooper can come back. If they have Cooper and Lamb, they'll be fine.
And eventually we're gonna get Gallup back also.
Yeah,
Gallup is out right now.
Gallup's huge as well. I know because he was on my fantasy team, I think last year. And even though they had a tough season, he
produced.
He still produced. Yeah. So that's all I have.
Yeah, I don't got much else left on this game. I'm very optimistic with this Cowboys team, though, and I
am too.
My projection is 12 wins this season at least.
Well, I think you all pretty much said everything that needed to be said. I don't have anything else to add on this game, but I will say these are two teams that last year before last, they were really struggling. I mean, the Chargers with Anthony Lynn, they weren't the best. In this Chargers,
they were still in games though with Anthony Lynn. Anthony Lynn but they were just this weird team. The Chargers.
They had so many possession losses.
Yeah, possession losses.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it was just they would lose in the weirdest of ways. Like I'm pretty sure there was one time Anthony Lynn just like completely mismanaged the clock.
Yep.
So like
that did happen.
They I think they finally have a competent. I mean, not to say Anthony Lynn's not a competent coach, but a coach who kind of I feel like understands more of, the ins and outs of the game. I feel like is what they have here, and I feel like the Chargers are going to be fine. Also, I feel like this is not really going to hurt them too much.
Yeah, I really feel like that these two teams are coming on the up and up, and I think this really went to show in this 20-17 matchup. That's just my last thoughts on that game. So the Cowboys once again 20-17 over the Chargers. The fourth and final game we will recap on the week 2 podcast.
The best game.
I will tell you what, this was the game of the week. Hands down, it was absolutely the game of the week. And if you did not stay up and watch it,
Dan, trying to tap out.
I actually did. I was going to check out.
You tried to tap out, but we didn't let you.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, as soon as I turned it off, they picked them off.
Listen. Okay.
Why would I stay
First
and
and
watch?
foremost,
you should have turned it off earlier.
I know.
At 8:54 p.m. on 9/19/21, Dan tweets, "Game is over. See you next week. #Ravens flock." What did you learn, Dan? What did you learn?
I taught you. I taught you the lesson. What was the lesson, Dan?
What did we tell you, Dan?
Don't say we. What did I tell you?
What did Carlos
What was the
teach
exact
you?
wording? Something like have a little faith, I think is what Carlos said, right?
Have a little faith, buddy. Have a little faith. Trust in big trust.
It's hard to though, man.
Okay.
It just is.
Okay, so first and foremost, I just have to say the 2 interceptions by Lamar, I thought that could have easily been the nail in the coffin.
Same.
They were really bad.
Yeah,
The first one, the receiver fell down. So that one's more 50-50. The second one, he never should have thrown that ball.
No, but my point to this, Tyrann Mathieu intercepted both of those, and last week he was on the COVID list.
Yeah, he's the Chiefs' best defensive player.
No, I thought that was crazy. He came off the COVID list and made plays immediately. I heard he was on the sideline catching his breath. He was so winded.
Yeah, he had COVID.
I know.
But it's not like he's fresh off the COVID list. He came off the COVID list before the Browns game. So he's been practicing this whole week.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood that. But anyways, it was great. It was great to see him back on the field. That's for sure. And I mean, wow.
Yeah, it was great. It was great to see him intercept my quarterback twice in 3 drives, whatever it was. It was pretty close together. I know that much.
Dan, after those picks, I'm pretty sure you were thinking the Ravens were going to lose.
I think most people were.
Yours, Dan. I feel like the floor is yours. I feel like it's time for you to break down.
The floor is yours, Dan. Take it away.
Well, I'll start with this, and I'll say this was the biggest difference in this game compared to last week. The number one thing they had to do in this game, and they did a really good job of, is protecting Lamar. They only gave up 1 sack this week. Last week, they gave up 3 sacks. And I don't know how many quarterback hurries and quarterback hits the Raiders had last week, but they shifted, Alejandro Villanueva from right tackle to his natural position at left tackle.
Fantastic switch.
Great switch. They put in, what's his name? Powers in at right tackle, I think is who it was. I could be wrong. and the offensive line was the biggest improvement for them because they were able to not only give Lamar time to throw, but they were able to run the ball very effectively with Tyson Williams and Latavius Murray got involved in Freeman as well. So the 3 running back committee that they have, I think that was the biggest difference really in this game. If they were going to win this game, they were going to have to be effective on offense, because when you play Kansas City, the very difficult thing is you can't give them extra opportunities, number one, which they did twice. And I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. You can't give Mahomes 2 extra possessions because that's killer.
Well, technically, it was only 1 because they scored on the first one. It was a pick 6.
It was a pick 6, right,
Yeah.
right.
But
which
still,
is even even hurts even more than seeing Mahomes. Well, I don't know, maybe not. But that was the biggest difference for me is their offensive line was just much improved, and Lamar just looked a lot more comfortable than he did the week before because the pocket wasn't collapsing every time he dropped back. So to me, that was the biggest difference in this game. And Lamar is Lamar. He's going to do things that are just
don't make sense.
They don't make sense. They defy physics. They don't make sense. He rushes for 100 yards. He throws for 200 yards. That's just the kind of quarterback he is. That's consistently what he gives you if the offensive line's good enough, and that's what he did in this game.
Listen. If there are any haters that are hating on Lamar still, you should stop, because Lamar
they're still going to hate on him no matter what. We just got to get over that.
Lamar is legit. Stop hating on Lamar.
Yeah, people are just going to hate on him.
They're just going to hate on, yeah.
He's different. I mean, he's not a traditional quarterback. That's a big reason why people don't like him. He kind of plays a schoolyard mentality type of thing, which I love. I mean, I think it's
exciting,
fantastic to see. It's just so fun, man. It's just like a little kid playing football, for the first time. Honestly, that's the way I would describe his playing style, and that's what makes it so special. But even now, the defense in the game really concerned me. They struggled early. Obviously, it was 21-17 at halftime. And I told you guys, I was happy about that halftime score. I felt like we were right there. We just needed a stop or two. Kansas City came out of the gate hot in the second half, and that's when I got concerned. I was like, oh, here we go. But our defense got stops when they needed to. And I give Anthony Averett a lot of credit. He made the play of the game on Tyreek Hill, batting that ball away to give the Ravens the ball back, which I believe they scored on that possession to take the lead, I believe. I can't remember. My brain is so tired from the last 3 nights. It's just all, sort of flowing together, but it wasn't pretty on defense, but I was certainly concerned, especially with our lack of depth at defensive back, losing, of course. We lost Marcus Peters to a torn Achilles or knee, torn ACL.
He's ACL, yeah.
The week before the season starts, or I guess 2 weeks before, which is just killer. And then we lose Chris, like a Looney Tune, Chris Westry, last Friday too, and he's I think he was our 3rd string corner or something like that, and he has a torn meniscus. So it's their lack of depth was pretty bad, and of course Jimmy Smith out too, who has been a staple on this defense for such a long time when he's healthy, but he seems to be hurt most of the time. They also have 13 players on IR, so I mean,
I think it's incredible. Sorry to cut you off there, but
you're good.
It's incredible that they have 13 players on IR and they're making the adjustments like what they did to Villanueva, which I think was pretty cool. And they come out and win a game that gives them a lot of confidence.
No business being at right tackle, because
they never should have done that.
Even he's like right tackle. It's
hell. Essentially,
it's such a totally different position from left tackle. I do not understand why they made that switch, and I'm so glad that they were able to recognize that and switch him.
Yeah,
I don't think either he had never played right tackle before, or he
never played it apparently.
Yeah, that was actually, you know what? I think I remember them saying he was learning the position the week of the game. That's just bad. That's just not good. And like, I get you're trying to shuffle things around, see what you have. And like their offensive line was also sort of banged up, but that was the key. I mean, moving Villanueva back to left tackle, he pretty much had his way all night. I mean, protecting Lamar and really was kind of dominating. Going up against Frank Clark a few times, I think, and really played well against him, which was concerning. Really, the only player on the Chiefs defense who outside of the Honey Badger was Daniel Sorensen, who had the only sack of the game. I was like, really, you're gonna let Daniel Sorensen? Come on now. He's not even their best defensive player. Come on. But I was just impressed with I think the play calling got better too, and I was concerned with that. Like in the second half, I'm like, oh God, this is what always happens. Like they're gonna abandon the run and they're gonna try to throw from the shotgun and do all this. And they stuck with what works. And that to me shows, number one, you have confidence in your quarterback. You know, like this is Lamar's playing style. He's gonna try to run between the tackles. That's just how he is. And he did. And he's also gonna make weird throws on the run, jump passes, which
that was such an ugly pass, but it was so awesome.
It was. It was not pretty. It was not fundamentally sound. That's for
so
sure.
Awesome,
but
though.
It was so great. And I don't know what the Chiefs defense was doing there, but I'll take it for sure.
Yeah, he literally jumped and threw it, correct?
Yeah. And it looked mistimed or odd. Like it looked like he threw it either too early or too late into the jump. So it kind of looked like, I don't know.
It came out super wobbly. I was like,
it was a wobbly
the hell
pass.
Is that?
And he was wide open. So I was like, hey, whatever works.
I'll take it.
I saw that throw, and it sort of reminded me of Tim Tebow back in Florida jumping up, like after faking the run, then jumping up and throwing, something like that. So I thought that was just very incredible how Lamar, I mean, like you said, we don't know what happened. His timing might have been off, but he threw it to a wide open defender.
Well, yeah, and
a wide open receiver.
And the difference with Tebow is Tebow's was on the goal line, I'm pretty sure. So that was a little different than
but the throw style,
style,
that's what I meant.
You're definitely right. I think it's where the jump pass kind of started, and then it never really caught on in the NFL though. We saw it a couple times, and we started seeing it a few years ago, I think.
Well, the Tebow one was a designed jump pass. Lamar's was not designed. That was pure improvisation. However the hell you say that.
That was him, man. That was him. But, the defense just did what they had to do. I mean, they made enough plays. I'll say that. But that's what you have to do against Kansas City. You're not, outside of the Super Bowl last year when Tampa Bay really dominated their offensive line and Patrick Mahomes. You're just not going to do that. That's not how you beat them. You have to just limit their big plays and try to get them off the field. And the Ravens did that. And that interception by Tavon Young that was when I turned the game back on. I saw it on Twitter because I hadn't seen it live because I was pissed. And I was like, this game's over.
You given up hope. You have given up hope.
I had.
And I was texting you, Dan. I was like, well, Dan texted. He was like, I'm turning this off. I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I was.
This is embarrassment.
This is embarrassing.
Dan said this
and
is
I was just,
embarrassment,
and then I
ladies
responded,
and gentlemen.
And then that's when the comeback started happening. I was like, Dan, I think you might. I don't think you want to give up on this team just yet.
I should have kept the game off because maybe they would have run away if I just kept the game off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe that's what needed to happen. Maybe you should have turned off the game earlier. Maybe it would have been
first quarter might have helped. Yeah. But this team. I mean, it also shows the depth they have as well. Like that they're able to have 13 guys on injured reserve. I probably 6 or 7 guys who are starters, which is a lot. Most of those guys on defense. And to have the depth that they have, to have just next man up mentality, and those guys step in and play fine. Now they have a couple more injuries early this week. They have a couple guys questionable, including Jimmy Smith again. Of course, he's always hurt. Ronnie Stanley is questionable, but you know what? We play Detroit this Sunday. Just rest. Make sure you're 100% healthy. I'm not concerned about Detroit, but I'll go back to just my final thoughts with this game is this was just a fun game, and I would have really loved to see both teams at full strength, just to kind of see like how the Ravens match up with their best, because the Chiefs just have so many weapons. It's insane. Hell, even Blake Bell, if they throw a screen pass to Blake Bell, I'm like, who is Blake Bell? He's like a second or third string tight end.
Next
Takes
man
off and
up
runs
mentality right there.
Runs for 20 yards. I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. Not even Tyreek Hill had as good stats as Blake Bell did. No. By the way, shut down Tyreek Hill. 3 catches, 14 yards.
Yeah,
that's great defense.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill did not have the best game.
Well, they doubled him most of the game.
And that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that left guys like Hardman and Pringle open. Pringle
but
had
it left
long
but that's the thing. It's pick your own poison. You can double up on Tyreek Hill, but that's going to leave Travis Kelce open. That's why Travis Kelce had 7 receptions for 109 yards.
He was feasting. He was feasting on our defense, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, the thing is with Kansas City is they have not only just weapons, but they have speed galore, like Pringle and of course Tyreek Hill. We know how fast Tyreek Hill is, but they also have McKeel Hardman, Robinson. All of those guys are just so fast, and like Patrick Mahomes, he doesn't have to throw it 30 or 40 yards. He does, and it usually works, but 7-8 yard routes, and those guys are in open space are just ridiculous. So that's the concerning thing when you play Kansas City. And I thought the Ravens defense did about as well of a job as you could ask, all things considered. I mean, I was nervous because in this type of game you're gonna have to score a lot of points against Kansas City. It's just how it is. But I thought the Ravens did a great job. And I've said enough about Lamar. I think I've defended his honor enough. And also, I'm very glad to have Justin Tucker once again. He's
a blessing. He's a blessing
for sure.
I'm very disappointed that you still have not brought up the fact that John Harbaugh asked Lamar.
Let's go.
I'm waiting for you to bring that up, and I'm also waiting for you to bring up the fact that they got the fumble to really seal the game.
Fumble in Lamar.
We haven't even touched on that stuff yet.
On 4th down. I mean, that was incredible. John just asking Lamar, "Do you want to go for it?" And of course he's going to say yes. He's confident enough in himself. The thing is, can the Chiefs defense stop him? But they did not. That's what the Ravens had to do. They could have more than easily kicked a field goal or punted the football. I'm not sure exactly.
No, they weren't in field goal range yet.
Okay, so they could have just as easily punted away the football and give Patrick Mahomes yet another chance to drive downfield. But John Harbaugh's mentality and Lamar Jackson's mentality is get the first down and get the heck out of there with the win. And that's what they did. Because if you give Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs another chance, there's a chance the Ravens might be losers if they punt that football. Well, even if the fumble did not occur, there's a chance they might have lost that game also, because when
had the fumble not occurred, the Chiefs were going to win that game.
Yeah, because you left way too much time on the clock.
They were already in field goal range just about, yeah.
Yeah, they were already in field goal range. It was just the fumble happened, and then that gave the Ravens a chance.
That was a great defensive play. I know.
I got things I got to say about the Chiefs eventually, but
I had no emotional interest in this game, but when Hillaire fumbled that football and the Ravens recovered, I got up and screamed.
So did I.
It was incredible.
I woke up with my roommates.
I was amazing. So I was already in bed, and I was actually starting to drift off. I was like, oh, I'm starting to fall asleep, and then as soon as the fumble happened, it woke me up. I was like, what the hell just happened?
It was a great defensive play. I mean, the awareness to go for the ball there is now last year the Ravens were known for that, and the last couple years they would go for more of the strip. They try to get their hand in there and just pull the ball out. This was more of a sort of punch the ball out situation, and which is, I'm sure, a drill they do often, but just the awareness to make that play, and wow, it was very emotional for sure. Yeah, and as far as the 4th down, I mean, that the Ravens have done that the last couple years on certain occasions, but never in a game of this magnitude against this opponent. Now, I know this is only a week 2 game, but the Ravens really needed to win this football game because if you fall to 0-2, we know
especially after losing to the Raiders, where they felt like they had, where like that was
the defense
the game
gave
that they
it up
lost.
at the end. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
they let the Raiders literally 4 or 5 plays, and they were they tied the game, and then overtime was the same thing. It was just like drive right down the field, score a touchdown. So, well, that long touchdown where he was wide open. But anyway, I love that call. It just goes to show that the relationship between head coach and quarterback and how important it is. And you can tell like Lamar and John Harbaugh, they have that very, very strong relationship, similar to what John Harbaugh had before with Flacco, of course. And really, I think Flacco was the first quarterback when he got there. So it was really only been Flacco and Lamar all John Harbaugh's years there. But I mean, I love that, especially at the end of the game when, they run over and sort of embrace and stuff like that. Like, to me, that's what it's all about. Like, I don't know, like, it's sort of an emotional thing, but like at the same time, it's like, just like, damn, I can't believe that just happened. And like the balls it takes to do that in that situation. Like, and again, I know it's a week 2 game, but it was a huge win for the Ravens to not only finally beat the Chiefs after, Lamar's 0-3 start, but also to bounce back in a huge way after losing to the Raiders. The Raiders are good right now, but let's give it like 2 or 3 more weeks.
They were good last season, and then they fell off.
Yep.
All right,
yep.
all right.
That's
Carlos.
all I got.
Carlos, I want to hear your thoughts from the side of a Chiefs watcher, and I hope you didn't rescind your fanhood from the Chiefs back to the Cowboys.
Kirby, if I'm going to rescind my fanhood, I will let you know. I don't rescind fanhood unless the team is bad. The Chiefs are not bad, okay?
I was kidding.
And also, it's not like the Chiefs are my primary team. I'm having an affair with them, okay? I'm cheating on the Cowboys with them, all right?
That'll never get old, you saying that. It's just funny every damn time. I don't know
It's
why.
an affair, all right? God damn. It's a very public one, but the Cowboys will live. Oh Jesus, hit my mic. Sorry about that. But no, I mean, what really sticks out in this game is, for me, is the Kansas City defense. They struggled against the Browns. Obviously, we get, the Honey Badger back for this game, and he made an impact, but still, when it comes to stopping the run, we couldn't really stop Chubb or Kareem Hunt with the Browns. And then here we couldn't stop, Lamar. We couldn't stop Tyson Williams, Latavius Murray. Even Devontae Freeman had a couple good runs.
Yep.
Hollywood Brown had a pretty good game. And what's it called? It was so irrelevant, Kirby. So irrelevant. You just derailed the whole podcast just now.
He's got to make it back. He's a football team.
I know, right? Like, we're not even
Verbalize
on
it.
Washington anymore, and he.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Cut this out, Kirby. All right, because we have completely derailed the podcast. All right. God, I don't even know how we're gonna fix this. Actually, you know what? Keep it in. Keep it in.
Yeah.
Or just keep this in.
We'll do
All
it
right, for
live.
those of you wondering what just happened, Heineke just partnered with Bud Light, and Kirby felt the need to send that to us while we're recording, and
couldn't
completely
wait like 10
derailed it.
minutes when we're done. He had to do it right now. God, come on.
Well, I
man.
didn't think you all would check it while you were talking.
The notification shows up on my computer, and then it shows up on my phone.
That it does.
And also, I'm just wondering if it's maybe you being like, "Hey, like let's kind of like pick up the pace here, something
Which
like
I would
that."
understand. I talked a long time there.
So, anyways, let me get back to it. Back to the Chiefs. Their defense kind of it's worrisome to me. Now, the beautiful thing is they have Patrick Mahomes, so no matter what, they're gonna always be in it.
Yep.
I don't think this game necessarily changes the pecking order in the AFC. I still think the Chiefs are still the top dogs.
I agree.
I think this was just a huge win for the Ravens. I think they really needed to see that they can beat the Chiefs. And I feel like this is going to go a long way in really pushing this team this season. Lamar looked, I mean, obviously in the first quarter, he was terrible. He was awful throwing, the first half in general, like he was just bad. The second half, just something switched, especially because of the fact that like going into the fourth, I mean, it was 24-35. So like it wasn't looking good, especially with how easy Kansas City was scoring.
Moving the ball.
But the fact that this Baltimore defense held Kansas City to no points in the fourth quarter.
Huge.
None. Zip. Huge. Something about the Ravens also is they're a very analytical team. So if the math and the science says to go, like it's better to go for it, they're going to go for it. No questions asked.
Yep.
They're one of those teams that like really trust like the analytics and stuff like that. So the analytics in that situation said the best way to do it was to go on fourth down. So they went for it on fourth down. For me, I think this was a really big game for Lamar to get that monkey off his back, like that thing that the haters can say, like, oh, but you can't beat Patrick Mahomes. You can't beat the Chiefs. They also handed Patrick Mahomes his first loss in September and his first interception.
His first pick. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like this Ravens team as a whole did what they needed to do to beat Kansas City because, like the game looked like it was lost because at the end of the game, Kansas City's driving, they're in field goal range. All they got to do is just kind of run down the clock. And then the defense did what they needed to do and get a turnover.
Yep.
I want to touch on Clyde Edwards-Hillaire because throughout his tenure here with the Kansas City Chiefs since coming out of LSU, he just has not been good. And this kind of is like the cherry on top of everything is the fumble. They thought he was going to be the answer. And I think this is again going to talk about drafting running backs high or drafting them in the first round or even late in the first round is probably not the best idea. I hope he bounces back and he doesn't, this doesn't like complete, but I mean, it's not like he had a great game here, 13 carries, 46 yards. He hasn't been that dominant back that he was in LSU. Now, obviously college is different from the pros, but it's seeming like he's having a long learning curve here. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. He's the great. He's one of the greatest. But I think we really need to stop trying to compare Mahomes and Lamar Jackson because they're just never going to be the same quarterback. Now they do, but they do such outlandish things.
Yeah.
But they do it in such different. Like with Mahomes, there's like a crispness to it. With Lamar, it's chaotic. So it's kind of like they're like a yin and a yang of each other, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. But like it's not, it doesn't take away from any of them. They're both great. And I put it in a group message while this game was going on. I said, this is going to be our next Manning Brady. Like, this is it. Like, this is going to, every time these two teams play, primetime television all the time. It will always be watching. I hope we see this matchup again in the playoffs.
Me too.
I hope Baltimore figures out their situations with these injuries and the players that like have stepped up in those positions, like are serviceable and actually play well and aren't, a hindrance to this Ravens team. With Kansas City, I hope that they figure out their defense because their defense is kind of becoming a liability because, again, you're not going to always, you have Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, you have this high scoring offense, but it's not going to always be able to bail you out like it did in this game. This game, they didn't come through. The Super Bowl, they didn't come through. Obviously, the Super Bowl was a different thing because they had a crappy offensive line in that game, but still. Yeah, like I said, to finish off, I don't think this necessarily changes the pecking order. I still think the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. I think this goes a long way for the Ravens to really have confidence in themselves, coming up with their upcoming games. Baltimore, who do they got up next? They got the Lions. They have Detroit next week. They have a tough matchup against the Broncos, who are playing pretty well. The Colts, we'll see. They got the Chargers. I mean, the Ravens have
kind of a tough schedule.
They have a tough schedule here. So that's why them falling to 0-2
would have been,
or them losing to
red alert
to Vegas was huge, because then it put so much pressure on this game. They could not start 0-2.
Yeah.
Because then it was going to be literally an impossible hole to come out of. You still got the 2 games against the Browns, which are basically going to play within 3 weeks of each other. You play the Browns, then you play the Steelers, then you play the Browns again. You still have all those matchups. Now you got some easy ones against the Bengals and the Bears and the Vikings.
I hope Andy Dalton's playing when you play the Bears.
If Justin
even
Fields
if Fields plays,
even if Fields plays,
right.
It's not like this Bears team is good.
Yeah,
you guys still have a matchup against the Packers. You got to play the Rams still. There's a lot of tough games on this Ravens schedule, and them beating the Chiefs, I feel like really shows this team that, like, hey, we can compete with the best of them and win these games. Despite all our injuries, like, we're not done. And
I think that's what most impressive to me is like the fact that you have 13 guys on IR. You're kind of shuffling guys around the last couple weeks to try to figure things out, and they've had injuries this past week, and like right before this game, they had some guys that were suddenly out and all that. So you have to even do more shuffling. Something else I want to mention that you mentioned a while ago, Carlos, about Lamar, is how well he came out and played in the second half. And that's been a common criticism of him throughout, the beginning of his career in the postseason, especially, but even in big games, and especially when it comes to playing Kansas City, he would come out really flat in the second half and like just wouldn't look good. And playing from behind, he also has struggled so far in his NFL career. So it was big for him to come out in the second half. They were trailing. It was only by 4, of course, in the second half, but they were also trailing by 11 in like more than midway through the third quarter at that point. So the fact that he was able to sort of answer the bell that time as well is huge. And I totally agree. You can't compare Mahomes and Lamar. I mean, they're both fantastic players, but they just play the game differently. Lamar just is so
chaotic.
Fast, but like he looks like the Tasmanian devil when he runs. Like, honestly, that's the way I would describe how he runs. And like, you think you have him and he goes like right around you. Mahomes is one of those more like smooth, I guess you could say, when he runs and gets out of the pocket. But Mahomes also often doesn't run he doesn't run in between.
Mahomes doesn't have that. Yeah, he doesn't have that Lamar running ability per se.
But Mahomes has the arm strength that is so good, and Lamar's getting there. I mean, it's still.
He's a work in progress. He's young. Like, I'm tired of dummies like Booger McFarland on ESPN. God,
he doesn't know shit.
Fuck that guy. There's my first F word right there. All right. I'm on a pitch count here, but there's my first one. All right. Fuck that guy. There's my second one. Okay.
Totally agree with you.
I can't stand Booger McFarland. I can't stand him.
He doesn't know anything. He's like, so sometimes like Dan Orlovsky, like
or Slavsky.
Or whatever his name is. He doesn't deserve to have his name pronounced right. Sometimes I'm like, okay, he makes a lot of sense. And other times I see stuff he says and I'm like, dude, what the hell? You're so wrong on this. It's not even funny. And it's not even like it's not even that it's about like Lamar. Yeah. It's about like just random stuff in the NFL. And I'm like, he just doesn't know. Here's a guy who ran through the back of the end zone and like had no idea. Like,
I mean, what is it? What did Aaron Rodgers say yesterday on the Pat McAfee show, where he like completely ripped? Like, he was like, with the media nowadays, it's all about who has like the craziest hot take, and that's what gets views and stuff. It's not really about, that's why I kind of can't stand watching ESPN sometimes, because like sometimes they're not having intellectual conversations about these games and such. So like, again, like we back to Lamar, is like Lamar, he's still, and we keep pushing this point every time we talk about Lamar. He's still young. Yeah. It's not like he's almost 30. I'm older than Lamar.
Yeah.
That's the craziest thing. I'm older than Lamar. He's still developing. Patrick Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes is a different quarterback compared to what Lamar is. Lamar has always been this green raw talent. He went to a college that didn't necessarily have like they're not a quarterback like development factory or something like that. He went to
Right.
Louisville,
Right.
where so it's like now he's in Baltimore. You've seen his progression. Like again, think about him compared to when he first started playing for the Ravens and got them to the playoffs that year against where they lost to I think they were LA at that time. The Chargers the first season. Yeah. Compare him to his MVP season and then compare him to what he looks like now. He's making improvements. Like he's making these passes. He's not as crisp as Mahomes is. Like I said, I think they're more of a yin and a yang of each other. Patrick Mahomes has this crispness, this smoothness to his game, right? Whereas Lamar is more chaotic, more jagged, more, I don't know, like more just chaotic. That's the way I can describe it. But it works. They're both aliens, energy. But they're different aliens.
I would say like nervous and high energy is kind of the way he plays. It just seems like, I don't know, maybe nervous is the wrong word to use, but just like a kid out there having fun, essentially. Like, it worked. The thing is, it works for both quarterbacks, and like,
yeah,
that's the fun thing about this is like you can see how different they are, but then when they go head to head, it's like that was pretty damn fun. Like both of those
so
guys
much fun.
Yeah, they're so fun to watch.
I hope we see this in the playoffs. I really do.
Me too.
This game in the playoffs would be like in the AFC Championship game or something like that.
Oh my!
Would be electric.
Oh my gosh! In the AFC Championship game, if this matchup were to happen, man, I mean, I wonder right. Compared to Sunday night this this game, the viewership probably would double or triple, in my opinion.
For sure. I mean, Sunday Night Football is a big viewership, but when you talk about a playoff game,
it's so great. I love Sunday Night Football.
It is.
I just love the presentation, everything. It just always feels like a big game.
Always, no matter who's playing.
Absolutely.
They try to schedule big games against big teams against each other, but sometimes it ends up kind of a dud. But even then, it's still a lot of fun to watch.
And the Super Bowl is on there this year, so on NBC, so it's going to be great.
Well, Al, let me tell you something.
All right. So for more on this Ravens Chiefs game, I will now switch it over to my interview with reporter for the Ravens. She covers the Ravens. Her name is Gabby DiPaula. Stay tuned. All right, now to talk more about this thrilling game between the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs. She covers the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. It's Gabby DiPaula. Gabby, thanks so much for joining us. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. And boy, this game was incredible for a week 2 matchup on Sunday night. I mean, this was the perfect place, the perfect setting to have a game. And I mean, these two teams are explosive, and you were actually at the game too. So, I mean, your initial thoughts from this incredible matchup between the Ravens and the Chiefs?
Yeah, I mean, originally I kind of went in and my family and I, like my dad's a big football fan, coached high school football for years and everything. We went in, we were like, it's okay because we probably know the outcome. We know we're going to lose. We have 16 guys on IR. Like, we know the Ravens are going to lose, but it'll be a fun game to go to. Primetime games are always fun. Night games are fun. Ravens Stadium, M&T Bank Stadium, they do a great job with lights and lighting and introductions. They really know how to bring an event and bring it to life, especially after not having fans last year. So in that aspect, yeah. But I think going into it, we were like, we're going to lose. We're going to lose. This is our goal of the game. Let's come out healthy. That's the goal. That's a win for the Ravens this year.
Yeah. So starting off the game very early with a turnover to none other than Tyrann Mathieu, who was just brought off the COVID list, and it was a pick 6. Lamar threw 2 picks, and I was thinking to myself, oh, this is not good. This Ravens team dug themselves in a hole, but they kept it relatively close. I love the fact that they ran the football. Lamar Jackson is incredible on the ground too, with over 100 yards rushing, and they managed to just keep in this game little by little.
Yeah, I think in the beginning it really, it didn't seem like it like set the tone at all or anything like that. Like, when we saw the pick six, that was like the side of the end zone I actually was sitting in. And we all sat back and we were like, okay, like maybe Lamar just needs to get some jitters out. And then he kind of did. So I think watching that, like, and then being able to come back, that's something that I think really helped them, especially with their confidence because of the amount of guys they have on IR, the amount of shuffling with the offensive line, the amount of running backs they've come in that had to learn a brand new playbook. It hasn't been easy for the Ravens this year. So, but after watching that pick six, I think, being able for them to turn it around, that was huge.
I think one of the big turning points in this game is when Patrick Mahomes tried to get a little too fancy, trying to throw the ball sideways and throwing that pick. I really think that gave a lot of confidence to the Baltimore Ravens moving forward in that drive. And I'll go back to the running game once again. I feel like the running game just helped them out a lot. And I know there's so many people on IR, but I think they really helped a lot because if Lamar Jackson was just rushing out there all by himself, I don't feel like this outcome would have been as close because it would have just been Lamar running all over the place.
See, I think you're kind of wrong on that because Lamar had over 1,000 yards rushing last year and the year before, and look what their record was, and it's really helped them in the past. And I mean, everyone knows that call with against the Bengals, how he was Houdini getting in the end zone on that play. Like I think Lamar really needed to use his legs in this game, and honestly, he probably should have used them against Oakland a little more too. And that's just mainly because of where they are with the running backs right now. Bringing guys in, the Ravens offense, defense for that matter, their playbooks aren't easy. And knowing how many RPOs the Ravens use and play action and everything, like it's not easy. So I think in the first game they should have used Lamar's legs more. And I'm happy that they did in this game as well. But there were definitely other instances where he could and probably have gotten the first down and maybe made the Ravens' life Ravens' life a little easier.
Yeah, so another thing too, I know this has been a thing circling the media for a while now about how Lamar is so unique and he is not a good passing quarterback. And I think this game he proved everybody wrong. And in games past too, I thought that as well because he can dot a football. He can throw it. And I don't know why these people are saying he can't, but I feel like if there are any more haters out there talking about how Lamar cannot pass a football, I think they're completely 100% wrong.
Sure. And I think it's a good argument to have, but I also think Lamar, and I think sometimes the coaches around Lamar, in certain, I'll say in certain games, they rely on his athleticism. And I think Lamar sometimes relies on his athleticism as well. And what I mean by that is his legs. So I thought he looked great. I thought he looked great coming back after that Oakland loss. Because in Oakland, I thought he just did not look good. He was overthrowing his targets big time. There was several plays he should have had big against Oakland, and he just overthrew his target completely. It could have been right on the dot if it was someone else, but it just, the way Lamar threw it. But, he did make 50% of his passes in this game. And for Lamar, that's pretty good. For what we have right now, it's pretty good. I think Sammy Watkins came up huge in a couple plays. He also had a drop. Mark Andrews had that big first down, that fourth quarter that pretty much solidified the Ravens win. And then, Marquise Brown, who's been on the injury report for weeks, wasn't expected to play, came up big and was able to really open up the Steelers, the Chiefs defense, and able to really help them, and especially in the receiving game.
So I saw a tweet a couple days ago, and I want to see if you agree with this, that Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes will become the next Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I think they're both young. They both are very passionate about football. I think they're both are very good They're both very good, and they're both really good with organizations that care about them, right? Like, I think that's a pretty big deal. You see, like, you know, guys that people are like, this is going to be the next Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, whatever it is. But like, if you're not with the right organization, there's a good chance they're going to screw you over. Offensive line's huge. Both of them don't have an offensive line. There's a good chance they're going to get hurt, right? And obviously the Ravens are really struggling with their offensive line, but they looked really good this past week. So yeah, I definitely see that. Again, they're with good organizations that are really good at drafting, that have, you know, the locker room together. I think all of those things are really powerful for quarterbacks like that. So yeah, I do.
So the Ravens, nearing the end of the fourth quarter, they go down and score to take the 1-point lead. And the question everybody had was, did he leave too much time for Mahomes? And I feel like he did.
Yeah.
But Clyde Edwards-Hillaire fumbles the football. First and foremost, you were there. What was the reaction after he fumbled the football and the Ravens recovered?
So again, like I said, like this is my first year coming as a fan. And after sitting in the booth where like you have to pretty much sit in silence because you're not supposed to be a fan. As you know, like being a part of like the media and everything, you're supposed to sit there like, okay, like great, like next play, whatever. I sat down in my seat because everyone was standing and I couldn't watch it. I was like, Ravens are going to lose on just stupid plays alone. That's what's going to happen. That's kind of what happened against Oakland. They left some too much time on the clock. And that's how I felt with this too, because you know the Ravens on their second to last drive, I guess their last drive, Lamar had that first play and of the series, and he ran and pretty much just like slid down. And I was like, Lamar, you need a couple more yards. You still need a first down. And he didn't. And they, you know, it was a struggle for them. It was a struggle for us to watch. So, yeah, when I saw I didn't see it because I was sitting down and everyone else was standing in front of me. My head was like in my hands, and I heard everyone cheering, and I saw everyone pile on the field. I was like, there's no way. They're all pointing that the Ravens have it, but there's no way. That's just like not going to happen in this game. And it did. And that was really exciting to watch, and everyone was screaming, and it was good. It was a good game to go to as a fan.
But yet again, there was still time on the clock. The Chiefs had plenty of timeouts to use. And next thing you know, fourth down rolls around, and John Harbaugh asks Lamar, do you want to go for it? He does, and he himself gets the first down to seal the game. I thought was absolutely incredible. So many great storylines in that game. And after he got that first down, did you see that first and foremost, in how electrifying was that to see that stadium the way it was beating Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs?
It's okay. It's like almost like upsetting, right? Because it's week 2, the Chiefs. I mean, they've gone to the Super Bowl the past 2 years, and where everyone's like acting like the Ravens won the Super Bowl. But I think everyone was just like really happy because everyone knows Chiefs and the Ravens, Patrick versus Lamar. The whole kryptonite quote that Lamar gave, you know, all of that combined, and everyone, it really felt like they almost like won this, like the Super Bowl in a way, because they beat the Chiefs. And I think with everything that's been going on with them this year, the shuffling of the offensive line, 16 guys on IR, probably more to come, a really small cap. You know, I think everyone expected a little more out of Lamar with the passing game, especially after seeing him against the Raiders. I think it just like, it was like a sigh of relief, and it really like, I'm still high from it. Like I loved it. Everyone I talked to is still just like booming over it. It was great to be there as a fan.
Absolutely. Once again, the Ravens beating the Chiefs by 1 point in that electrifying Sunday night game. Once again, Gabby DiPaula joins us. Gabby, we appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Josh.
All right. Once again, big thanks to Gabby DiPaula for coming on the Kirby on Sports podcast. Once again, the Ravens 36 and the Chiefs 35. We will be right back with the Hurry Up offense. You don't want to miss this one. Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barn wood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com.
Hey, sports fans. Thank you for listening to and supporting the Kirby on Sports podcast with founder and host Josh Kirby, along with lead contributor Dan Dembski. Like, subscribe, and give them a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcast from. My name is Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation. Our company helps leaders build engaged and productive teams. Exclusively for listeners of the Kirby on Sports podcast, you can take an opportunity to discover your primary communication style and learn more about effective communication with others. Text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free copy of the Working From Home Communication Assessment, where you'll learn your primary communication style, how to better communicate with others not like you, and tips on working remotely based on your personal communication style. 10 minutes, tons of resources. Learn about yourself and your team. Again, text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free assessment report today. I'm Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, where we help you and your team be more engaged and productive by understanding each other better. Back to you, Josh.
I'm Josh. I'm joined by Dan and Carlos. It's time for the Hurry Up Offense to discuss the rest of Week 2 in the National Football League. Boys, are you ready?
All right, boys.
All set.
Spider 2, Y banana on 3. Ready?
Make it
Right.
fast. Make it fast.
All right.
Quick count.
Panthers, Saints. Panthers are looking good 2-0 start. The Saints, I don't really think this loss means a whole lot. I don't think the Saints are frauds. I just think the Panthers are looking like a better team this year.
I would say big win for Sam Darnold. He played really well.
Absolutely.
Definitely something he needed after all the criticism he got with the Jets and all that. He still deserves a lot of criticism, but this game was nice. They definitely needed that win and at home as well.
Yeah, Adam Gase should never be hired in the NFL again because both quarterbacks that he was in charge of have flourished out of his rule. One is under Matt Rule. Did not mean to make that
That
pun,
was good, Carlos.
but it came out.
That's
Yeah,
good.
I mean, Jameis kind of reverted back to pre-LASIK
Oh,
Jameis. It was
yeah.
pretty bad, but hopefully they fix it up. Hopefully they can get back to New Orleans soon because I think it's starting to weigh on them. Not being able to be home and, not necessarily, I mean, they've technically been on the road for the past 2 weeks. So, and I have no idea when they're going to be back at the Superdome. The Superdome just caught on fire yesterday. I think it
No
was.
shit. Wow.
Was it yesterday or was that today? No, that was yesterday. But yeah, I mean, yeah, good win for the Panthers. The Panthers are they're 2-0 now. I mean,
2-0.
good start. I mean, maybe they might make a push for the playoffs. I think Sam Darnold was a good pickup for them.
Agreed.
Week of injuries in Week 2. The Bears over the Bengals 20-17. Andy Dalton goes out with an injury. Justin Fields comes back in. The Bengals inch closer and closer, but the Bears hold on to win 20-17. I mean, this game was just not a good game.
Not good. It was
Not
not a
good.
good game. Joe Burrow throwing 4 picks. Like it was like 3 consecutive picks in a
3
row.
consecutive. Yep.
I mean, like we said, Jamar Chase, I said it during live broadcast as Jamar Chase was getting was catching a touchdown pass. I still think he was the wrong pick. I think they needed to pick somebody to protect Joe Burrow. And it shows. I mean,
And
Joe
they
Burrow
didn't do it, as
No.
Stephen A. Smith would say.
and Joe Burrow's running for his life back there.
Still,
Yeah.
and he will be. He will continue to run for his life because that's just how this offensive line is. Yeah, this game was ugly. I mean, the Bengals made a nice comeback there in the fourth quarter, but it in the end it wasn't enough. And yeah, these are just two teams that are gonna have a bad season, and you saw a bad football game. That's these things happen.
Let the Justin Fields era begin, though.
Yeah.
The second quarterback injury going to the Browns versus the Texans, the Browns beating the Texans by 10. Tyrod Taylor, unfortunate injury. It really irritates me and makes me mad he got injured because Tyrod was looking good. I'm sure you have the same kind of thoughts because you're a big Hokies fan and Tyrod went to Virginia Tech, but I'm just sad to see him go down yet again.
Yeah, it was tough. Tough to see again. You know, I don't know the extent of the injury. I haven't heard anything new, but yeah, this was just a case of the Texans are kind of a team that they don't really know their identity and they're trying to figure it out. I think rebuilding is probably the proper term to use, but maybe not quite to that extent. But yeah, the Browns are a great football team, and this was going to be a tough game for Houston to win. They were going to have a lot of things go right, and when your starting quarterback goes out and gets hurt, I mean that doesn't help things. So yeah, that's all I have.
Yeah, I mean, the Texans were playing well up until Tyrod went out. And, I mean, the other thing is Baker also got hurt in that game. He even said that, like, his shoulder popped out and popped back in.
Oof.
But it was his left shoulder, so it wasn't his throwing shoulder. So he's ultimately going to be fine. But, yeah, I mean, tough go for Tyrod. He just has the worst luck as a quarterback. I do feel sorry for him, you know, because he was getting going. They were competing with the Browns. I mean, and you know, the Browns aren't a slouch, and then gets hurt, and it was a non-contact. So, you know, hopefully he gets back and healthy soon and can try and do something with his team.
The next quarterback injury, the Rams beating the Colts 27-24. Will we ever see a healthy version of Carson Wentz again?
How the hell did he manage to sprain both his ankles on that play?
That's actually impressive that he was able to do that.
I don't know, man. Carson Wentz, I mean,
trash.
I mean, I guess it sucked because like that was a good game that was going on, especially at that and on the 1:00 slate of games. You know, that was the game I was really watching was the Rams Colts. If Carson Wentz can stay healthy and not make boneheaded decision plays and get, you know, and again, stay healthy, the Colts can actually compete for something because they actually have a team that can compete. You know, we saw what happened when who's his backup again? Jacob Eason.
Jacob Eason.
You know, Eason comes in, first pass he throws is an interception. Kind of lost the game for them there. So, I mean, the Rams, I mean, also, I mean, not much to say. I mean, they played pretty well.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to that. I'll just say that it's kind of impressive that you're able to sprain both ankles on the same play. That takes a special kind of talent. But again, it is Carson Wentz. He's had his fair share of injuries. So.
And a shuffle pass that gets picked off.
Oh my God,
I remember that.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Moving on, the Broncos over the Jaguars 23-13. Trevor Lawrence with 2 interceptions in that game along with a touchdown. Teddy Bridgewater led Broncos are 2-0.
Yeah, nice to see Bridgewater, you know, playing well. He never really got a chance to start long term somewhere. You know, in my opinion, he kind of got short stints with several teams, including the Vikings and who was the most Saints, I guess. I'm trying to think back to who.
Yeah, he was he went from Minnesota where he was the guy, and then obviously he had that really bad injury.
Right.
They didn't know when he was gonna come back. I think it took him 2 years to come back. Then he went to the Saints. Then he went to the Saints. Then he went to the Panthers, and now
I forgot that was the
in
other
Denver.
team. Yep, I was trying to remember where else he played. Yeah, so it's good. It's good to see him playing well, and I'll just say, for the Jags, I just don't know how long it'll be until Urban Meyer's out the door. I just think I don't know.
A lot of coaches think he's going to be one and done. So
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, that USC job might be calling. But no,
he keeps saying he's not going to take the job, but I think if they keep losing, which they probably are because they're going to have a tough season.
Yeah,
he's going to feel like, well, maybe I reconsider a little bit and try to see how this goes. But
yeah, I mean, real quick, I mean, good. It's great. It's also for me, it's also great to see Teddy Bridgewater succeeding. He deserves this. And Denver finally looks like they have a quarterback.
Yeah.
For that great and talented team. So, still hoping Jerry Jeudy comes back strong when he comes back. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be a learning curve for Trevor Lawrence, not being on a team that's uber talented, they're still building there. And again, who knows how long this Urban Meyer experiment's going to actually go on for.
Moving right along, the next quarterback injury, the Bills beating the Dolphins 35-0. Tua is out. It's tough to see Tua go out, but this Bills team just had their way with the Dolphins any way they wanted it.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills
bounce back. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills had a bounce back game, but it's not as if they played that great, to be honest. They won 35-0, but it wasn't. Looking back at the performance, it wasn't a lights out performance, as you may think. Tua being out sucks. I know right now the Dolphins really wish they had Ryan Fitzpatrick, even though Ryan Fitzpatrick is also hurt right now. But I mean, I wonder how long Tua's going to be out. Like I said, the more this continues, this Tua Miami, experiment continues, I really don't see Tua ultimately being the answer for Miami. And I think if Tua's going to be out for a long time, those Deshaun Watson rumors are going to start kicking up again.
Yeah, I'll just say suffocating defense for the Bills. I mean, you shut out anybody in the NFL, and it's your defense deserves a ton of credit for that. So.
Moving on, the Patriots beating the Jets 25-6. Zach Wilson with a disappointing 4 interceptions.
Yeah, typical.
He had 4 interceptions when he had 4 completions. That was horrendous.
All right.
Brady versus inexperienced quarterbacks. I mean, this
you mean Belichick?
Belichick.
Whoa. I'm about to say.
I'm tired. Okay.
Brady too.
I was about to say.
Yeah, I mean, Belichick just knows how to figure those guys out.
He loves rookie quarterbacks.
He just
loves rookie quarterbacks. He just feasts on them, and plus he loves beating up on the Jets. And it just further proves the Jets are so far from a finished product.
They're even far from a
competitive
one.
One.
Yeah, I mean,
and Mac Jones getting his first win as an NFL player.
Mac attack, cool. Man. Mac attack.
Pretty cool. But Zach Wilson, I mean, I don't know. He's got to learn to play boring football.
All right. Moving on. The 49ers and the Eagles, 17-11. 49ers take that one. This game was just a very weird game in general, in my opinion.
Sloppy, messy, kind of boring. Didn't really care.
Yeah. I mean, the Eagles, Nick Sirianni, I don't know.
Nick Sirianni's a character, though. I'll tell you that much. That dude's a character, but I mean, not the best performance for 49ers. No Trey Lance in this game at all. He didn't make a single appearance. They didn't run that package. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But the Eagles are not a good team, ultimately. I mean, they played a shitty Atlanta team. So that's why they look so good in week 1. But they're going to lose to the Cowboys this week.
Yeah, I got nothing. This game was about as boring of a game as you could expect, and
we didn't even really watch this game, to be honest.
Yeah, we were just checking the score really, and then we were just like, wow, 17-11, what an interesting game. But yeah, that's really it.
All right, the Raiders improved to 2-0 with a 26-17 win over the Steelers.
Steelers offense is
They're held
knows?
back. They're held back by A, Ben Roethlisberger, and B, the fact that they didn't really improve that offensive line.
Yeah, and they're trying to feed Najee Harris, and it's just not going well. So
It's not going well because they don't have a line.
yeah, yeah.
All right, moving on.
We didn't even touch on the Raiders at all.
Oh,
No.
Raiders, impressive start, but again, I'm not a believer in them until like check with me in week 7 or 8, and we'll see what their record is.
Yeah, check with
See how many
me
games in the Raiders
after
have.
the halfway point of the season because
Yeah.
that's normally when they start to fall apart.
Agreed.
All right, moving on. Dan, you've been involved with play-by-play going back to Virginia Tech. A 34-33 Cardinals win over the Vikings. And if you heard that radio call that the Vikings announcer had, you probably lost your mind.
It was I didn't know whether to laugh or cry because he thought it was good. He really thought it was good, and he was like,
I didn't
"Yeah,
even listen
it's
to it. I heard
good,
about it though.
If I'm a Vikings fan in the car driving home, I hear him say the kick is good, and then they say it's no good.
Boys,
I'd be
Never mind.
very upset.
But let's be honest here, boys.
I'd
Who
probably
the hell is
run off the
listening on the
road.
radio?
You'd be surprised.
Who the hell is listening on the radio?
You'd be surprised.
You'd be surprised.
Get me the numbers. Get me the numbers, and I'll see if I'm surprised. Or I'm gonna be like, oh no, that makes sense. It's only like 3 people.
Well, it makes money still, so somebody's listening to it.
But
You
Dan,
gotta
I
think of
mean,
it that way.
you were in play-by-play. What were your reaction? What was your reaction to this?
Surprised. Number one, surprised that he missed, but then also you think about it's the
Vikings.
the Vikings. They've had a history, not just Blair Walsh, but going back even further, of missed kicks in their entire franchise. And I believe this announcer has been there for most of them. So, yeah, it was not pretty, that's for sure. And
In this game, Prater nailed a 62-yarder, just so you all know.
yeah,
Yeah, but the real story here is the fact that Gus Johnson is the greatest play-by-play caller of all time, and
I
just
was-
really stole
Oh!
the show.
Oh,
Shout out to Aqib Talib too. That was fantastic.
oh my God. No, Gus Johnson at the end, he just screams and yells, and he's like, this is the NFL on FOX. And I'm like, my gosh. He does it so
FOX.
great.
yeah.
What the hell is FLX?
FOX.
Oh, I
He
just said
says-
L for a second. I was like, what the frick is
No,
what the hell is
he
that?
says, he screams in his
Uh-huh.
passionate voice, this is the NFL on FOX. And I'm like, nobody does it better than that man.
Yeah.
One person I would dream to have on this podcast is Gus Johnson.
Maybe one day.
Well, I'll get him on my podcast and rub it in your face. I'm just kidding. I still don't have a podcast. So.
All right.
Not yet.
Moving right along, not a lot to say. Tom Brady and the Bucks over the Falcons 48-25. And last but not least, the Green Bay Packers.
Whoa. Go back to that, Tom, to Atlanta, to Tampa. Okay.
I'm just
We're
gonna
really
say one
thing to
talking
say.
about that?
I'm just
I just
gonna
got one
say
thing
what
to
I
say.
said. I'm just gonna say what I said last week. Matt Ryan, just retire already, dude.
I'm just gonna say one thing to Atlanta. Hey,
Embarrassing.
Atlanta, who's your daddy?
Okay.
Never beat
Daddy
Tom
Brady's
Brady.
home.
Yep.
The Lions and the Packers, 35-17. The Packers over the Lions on Monday night. The Peyton and Eli broadcast looked pretty good as well. Pat McAfee was on the show, so that was pretty cool.
It wasn't just Pat McAfee, but okay.
Yeah, one of the guests, Pat McAfee, was one of the guests. Sorry, Carlos. But
Jesus,
I think the Packers defense is sort of struggling this year.
they are. They're struggling for sure, but they pulled it together at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But-
I mean, finally, I mean, not even finally, but I mean, it's like I told, like I said last week for the Packers fans, relax, RELAX, relax.
They're going to need that to fix that defense, and you're going to get
They've
mad at-
always needed to fix that. That was the problem last season. They
No,
needed
no,
to
The
fix
problem for years.
No,
for them.
no.
been an
the-
issue for years.
The new defensive coordinator they brought in,
It's the same thing, same shit, different season.
they need to fix it quickly because Joe Barry won't get the job done.
I'll just say the Lions weren't doing much with kneecaps in this game. That's all I'm gonna say.
And that wraps it up for the week 2 hurry up offense. The last word is coming up next.
Hey there, this is Mark Francis of Icon Real Estate. If you have any real estate needs in the Winchester surrounding area, including West Virginia, give me a call. I've got extensive experience, been in the business for almost 20 years, and would love to help you out. Track me down at Icon Real Estate, iconsells.com, or even give me a call, 540-247-1527. Again, Icon Sells, ICONSELLS.com, and I would love to chat with you and help you out. Give me a call.
All right, week 3 is right around the corner. The last word, boys. Who do you got? Who's starting?
I'm looking forward to seeing the Chargers and Chiefs this Sunday. Obviously, that's a 1:00 kickoff, but that looks like an exciting matchup. I really want to see how this Chargers offense can go up against the Chiefs defense that struggled against the run this past week against the Ravens. And then, of course, any game Mahomes is in, I mean, count me in, man. I want to see him at all costs and opportunities. So I'm looking forward to watching that game.
Yeah, what I'm looking forward to is obviously the same thing. I want to see the Chiefs and Chargers, but the other thing I want to see is the Buccaneers Rams.
Oh yeah,
because obviously this is a potential NFC championship game, but also it'll be interesting to see how Tampa Bay is, or how Tom Brady's. Obviously, I'm pretty sure Tom Brady is going to be focusing solely on this game, but next week is his homecoming to New England. So how far ahead is Tampa Bay looking here? And then also we got Packers 49ers, so we'll see how they do. And then, of course, I'm always going to watch my Cowboys, dunk one on the Eagles. It'll be fantastic.
Yeah, I think I'll go with you, Dan, the Chiefs and the Chargers. I agree with both of you, to be honest. But another thing I'm looking out for, how are these teams with injured quarterbacks going to be affected? Will the Bears find a way to protect Justin Fields at the line? What are the Dolphins going to do? What are the Texans going to do? So on and so forth. It's going to be very interesting to see how these teams are affected by the loss of their starting quarterbacks.
Yeah, and we've seen it early so far. So who knows what the rest of the season is going to bring as far as injuries and stuff, especially at the quarterback position. That's a great point. I hadn't even thought of that. But yeah, that's something to watch out for. Absolutely.
Hey, boys, we're 2 weeks into the season, and it's been fantastic so far.
Oh, my God.
It's been a fun year so far.
I got to admit, the 3-man booth is great. I appreciate, as always, my co-host, lead contributor, Dan Dembski, the Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez. And I just appreciate you guys, and I'm looking forward to what's ahead over the next couple of months.
Screw that NFL taunting rule, by the way. Just wanted to throw that in there at the end.
Did you hear a couple coaches? I know Ron Rivera and John Harbaugh both said they're fine with it, and I know a couple other coaches have said they're fine with it.
The NFLPA is not okay with it, but the NFL saying we're not going to change it. It's just so dumb.
The NFLPA will have their way, but it might not. It might have to wait until the end of the season. So
probably.
Right. All right. So thanks once again to Gabby DiPaula for coming on talking Ravens Chiefs with me. Once again, you can check out that interview during our Ravens Chiefs discussion. For Carlos Martinez and Dan Dembski, I am Josh Kirby. For our sponsors, Regroup Building Services, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, and Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate. Make sure you check out the Kirby on Sports podcast on all streaming platforms, on all social media platforms. www.kirbyonsports.com is where you can find all of our work. Until the next time you hear us, always remember to create greatness. So long and peace out.